Howdy folks, thanks for joining me in the kitchen. Extractaganza number 26 about to get underway, and this week we got a whole new player. These cans were not even available when I first started Extractaganza. Never heard of, well sort of, this brand was, but these actual cans weren't. They've only come out very recently. What they are, they're from Muntons Brewing in England, and they're called Road. And apparently they're recipes that have been created in conjunction with Road Brewing in England and Muntons. So Road have put together recipes, Muntons are brewing them and kitting them up. This range has only hit Australia in only the last 2 months. They're fairly new. I only heard about them from one of the channel watchers who talked about it. I found some last weekend when I was down in Wollongong. Went to the All Things Brewing there at Albion Park, where I pick up a few supplies and things, get my gas bottles refilled when I'm down there. And he had a few tins of these sitting there. He had 5 of what they call the classic range, and I think there might have been 6 of this craft range. Now there's, I think it's 10 beers in one range, 11 in the other. I can't remember exactly which way it goes, but they cover quite a wide range of styles. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. I'm really keen to get this done and see what it's like, because they're covering styles unlike anybody's done before. This one today I'm doing is a Columbus Red IPA. Now I've not seen a red IPA ever. I think perhaps Mangrove Jacks might have done one in the pouch. I can't say for sure, but they've got a good variety. I linked up the, not linked it up, but I put a picture of the actual brochure which Andrew down there at the brew shop gave me. He said they're slowly releasing and they're going to have them, he'll have all of them soon. So I don't know why it's happening slowly, why they didn't just dump them all at one time, other than maybe they're testing the market a little bit, I don't know. But either way, this is what we're doing. Now I said these are a little bit different. The classic range in this are 1.5 kilo tin. They're normally, we're used to a 1.7 kilo tin here in Australia generally, and 1.5 in the straight liquid extract tins. So it's a little bit different. But this is 1.8. The craft range are 1.8. They're a bigger can, and because they have more malt in them, they've assumedly been hopped a little bit more. They're a bit more specific to certain beers. So yeah, hopefully they're going to go all right. Now, got the bits and pieces here. I'll pull this out before to have a look what was in here when I first got it, because main thing was because there's some hops under the lid. It says on here, Columbus Red IPA, craft beer kit, comes complete with American ale yeast and Columbus dry hop, 30 gram pellets. Well, that sounded good. There's our 30 gram pellets under the lid, so I've taken them out and put them into the fridge. Obviously, these are not going to be of the best quality. They've shipped from England, which would have happened on a ship. So it's taken time to get here. They've possibly sat on a port. So these haven't been looked after real well. I've got Columbus of my own. I was going to use them, but this is what comes with the kit. This is what I'm going to use, and we'll talk about that a little bit. This was a disappointing factor. American ale yeast, 6 grams. Now, they make a fuss about saying they've got American ale yeast in here. I would have thought we'd at least get a packet of good stuff, you know, or at least, you know, maybe a generic, but maybe a bigger pack. And again, we'll see why I think that shortly. But that's what we've got. There's a little instruction booklet under the can here. And let me tell you, for a man whose eyes aren't doing the best, it's not that easy to read. But I've got there. What I can't read, I'm going to guess. I've looked over it. I can read it. But anyway, first thing I want to soak this in some hot water. So I'm going to do that. So in she goes. They want that to sit for 5 minutes. So the same thing you'd normally do with any sort of brew. Let's have a look over what they're talking about here now. This kit actually, how it looks and how it stands up. And it's a little bit different. First thing that stands out is on the can, and it's again here in the instructions, is a list of options on making different strengths for this beer. So what we've got is it's a list that says the fermentables you will need. It says for a red IPA, we recommend you add the following: 1.5 kilos Brick Road light malt extract, which is this fella. It's a Marisotto light malt extract. Yeah, that's exactly what we expect coming out of England, the Marisotto. Plus 1 kilogram Brick Road light dry malt extract. Now, the brew shop didn't have light dry malt extract, certainly not the Muntons anyway, they've got light dry malt extract. So I've got my own, which we've always got here, courtesy of Kev down there at the Hopping Mechanism. So I'm going to use that. And then it has listed here 19 litres, 21 litres or 23 litres, and your expected OGs and final gravities. So what it's telling me is that if I was to brew this to 19 litres, as per those fermentables, I'm going to get original gravity about 1079, finish around 1016, get an ABV of about 8.1%. Now I assume that's going to be after bottle priming, but that's some pretty serious numbers for a kit. Now if you go to 23 litres, that's 1064 down to 1013 with 6.6%. So it's still not mucking around. Then it gives you options. It says for a lower strength red, just add the light malt extract. Don't worry about the dry. So 23 litres, that's going to get you about 4.8% ABV. For a session red, just use the 1 kilo of dry malt extract. Don't add this 10. At 23 litres, you're getting a 1042 start for about 4.3% ABV. So, but even there with the session, 5.4% if you start at 19 litres. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go the middle ground. So I'm going to brew to 21 litres, and I'm going to split this. I'm going to split this because you know I'm going to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one at the lower strength. I'm avoiding the session. I'm going to go for the lower strength. So 21 litres, which is 1 kilo of the light malt extract, which I should get into the water as well. I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to mix it up, and and I'm going to split it at the towards the end, and I will put half of that into 2 of the Keg King 20 litre fermented juniors, and I will add half a kilo, or let's say the equivalent of the 1 kilo of light dry malt, into one of those. So I get that. Look at that target of 1071 starting, so around a 7.2% ABV. So our nice good strength red is going to give you a good nudge, and see where we go. The 30 grams of Columbus is a dry hop, and this is where I sort of commend them on their instructions. As much as they're keeping it simple, and it says they've got here to rehydrate the yeast at the start. Dry hop, so they want to dry hop on day 5. You've got your 30 grams, but they recommend you dry hop up to 100 grams of a combination of C hops, and they're saying Cascade, Centennial or Columbus on day 5. 2 days later on day 7, they're saying to add another 100 grams of hops. So they're saying 200 grams all up with dry hop. So they're not, again, they're not mucking around. Now, there is no adjustment or suggestion on that as to whether you're doing a full strength or a lower strength for a session. Because obviously if you're doing a session, you're not going to want 200 grams of dry hopping. But that's all good. So what I'm looking to do with that is I will dry hop with the 30 grams Columbus on day 5. I will split it between the two fermenters so they get the equivalent of just that, because that's what's in the kit, and plenty of brewers are just going to do that, not going to add anything extra. The second half I will add some extra hops, and I will stick in the tasting what hops I actually add. So it's going to depend. I'm going to go through the hop stocks and see what's there, and sort of it's not going to be, well, I'll probably do another 100 grams. Like I said, I'll update you on that when it goes. That's going to be, I'll see how I go. And it says, then on they're saying day 10, check, see if she's finished, and once you've got your gravity stable for 3 days, blah blah blah, go ahead and ferment. So basically, they're talking around 13 days for a ferment, which is nice. Got to hear tips. You'll brew excellent beer following the basic instructions if you focus on 3 things: sanitation, temperature control, and allowing time for fermentation and conditioning. It actually did have somewhere here, I'm not sure exactly where it was. Oh, here it is. I've actually got carbonation. Bottle condition for 3 to 4 weeks at room temperature. Sample your beer and leave for longer. It still tastes green. If it tastes like green apple, as I said, settle to hide. Pour gently, settle it with stir in the bottom. Once your beer is tasting good, chill the remaining bottles. They will be good for 3 to 4 months. So they're saying 3 or 4 weeks conditioning. So they give you a little bit of suggestion on a little bit of time. They're saying you want temperature control. I didn't know what temperature they want the yeast at. Ideally ferment between 18 and 22 degrees. 16 to 24 is okay. Lower temperatures will prolong fermentation. Higher temperature will be quicker but may produce off flavours. So they're actually giving you a little bit of decent information in amongst. So that's a positive. So time to get this sucker together. And I'm going to roll through this fairly quickly because you all know what this looks like. We don't need we don't need a big long bloody running thing. I wanted to get just to have a good chat over what's involved in these tins. So as I said, they're just taking that little step above what's generally out there on the market. Start by checking our taps off. Everything's been sanitised. And then we throw in about 1.5 litres of boiling water. These tins are nice and fresh. They're best before the end of June 2026. Quite a good long date on them. So that backs up obviously that they're only fairly new. And it's stringy and sticky like all bloody extract. Yeah, one thing I will say with these tins, they weren't cheap. I think top of my head was about $33, $34 for the IPA tin, and the Muntons extract was about $21. It might have been $22, $21.95, something like that. So they're pricey. So if you're doing the full strength version of this, you're looking what, 34, 56, half a kilo, 61, 62. You're throwing some hops, you could be looking around $80 for the full batch. Yeah, which is not cheap. But by the same token, if you're brewing, say, 21 litres, even 19 litres of full strength red IPA, that's the beer you're going to pay 120 bucks a carton for in the shops. So you're paying a third of what you would commercially, and potentially less depending on, depending on what sort of red IPA you're talking about. But yeah, certainly not a cheap kit stepping in. So one reason why I really hope this turns out alright. I've left me bloody water jug out in the brewery. I can go and get it and get this topped up, then we'll split it off. The instructions actually mentioned about trying to dechlorinate your water, and also talked about water chemicals and adjusting the water being something you could look into. So they've covered a lot of bases in the instructions, but not enough information to really help someone who doesn't know what they're on about, and probably enough to confuse the fuck out of someone who's sort of new. But at least it's there. That's about 20.5 litres according to the fermenter. That'll do us. Don't go any further than that. So I'll grab me other fermenters and we'll get that happening. Okay, so taking our first 10 and a bit litres off, we've got our hydro sample there. Let's see what we're looking at. So this is going to be our generic base half, which I will ferment with our generous packet of American ale yeast. We've got, let's call that 1050. So what was our target? 21, our lowest drink, yeah, 1050, 1051, so we're around there. So we're looking for about a 5%er. So a standard drinking sort of a level. So that's all good. Yeah, 1050, that's all good. So I'll add half a kilo dry malt to what's left here. Run that down to 11 litres. And I'm opening 11 litres of what's left in here with some nice hop additions. Will get me a nice keg filler. Now, everyone knows I like my red IPAs, so I'm yeah, I'm a little bit keen to see how this one actually, yeah, how it finishes up. Just leave that for a second. Which is her. Let's see if you want to mix in alright. It's hitting about 27 degrees, so these will need to sit in the fridge for a little bit before I pitch these. I think it will happen later on tonight. That's that. And what does this fella taste like? Okay, it's not as sweet as you'd expect for 1050, but there's a definite hop presence in there, so she's certainly got an amount of hopping going on, which is good, because that's what that's part of what you're paying the dollars for. Yeah, that extra cash is about extras, so that's all good. Getting out of the way. It's a little darker, as it should be, with the extra malt down in there. We're giving this floor a good mop before the wife gets home. Okay, 1062 is our start there. Again, how does that compare? 21. They're saying more like 1071, but so I really didn't think that was possible with just an extra kilo added. Anyway, that's where we are. 1062. So I'll finish filling this up. I'm going to ferment this half with Liberty Bell ale yeast. 1062. They're talking American ale yeast. Liberty Bell will be fine. We'll see. I've got some BRY97 out there. I've got options, so I might change. But you'll certainly find out shortly when we do the tasting. So as I said, do get these in the fridge, get them down to around that 20 degree mark. I'll drop the yeast on. I'll set temp at 18, and we'll go from there. So I will see you in about, I don't know, about 8 or 9 seconds in 6 weeks for a tasting on Muntons Brick Road Columbus Red IPA. Righto folks, tasting day. It's 29th of December. These fellas have been bottled since the 6th, so they're 23 days in. Ideally I probably would have let these sit a fraction longer, but we're off down the coast in 2 days, so it's going to be another couple of weeks before I get a chance at this, so that's all good. I've got a couple of brews I want to do a follow-up when I get back from down the coast, so this will be one of them. But from those original instructions it says to let these condition for 2 to 4 weeks, so we're sort of in the middle, 23, 3 and a bit, yeah, 3 and a little bit weeks, so that's all good. This is the kegged half of the batch, which is the batch that I've added the extra malts to, and it's had extra hopping. We'll go through that in just a minute. This is the lighter version, which I bottled, and this has been in the fridge now for about 5 days. This was done straight off the keg, and she's fairly happy. Let's grab a non-nucleated glass and see if we can get a pour that we can actually work with. She's still pretty bloody heavy. That's pretty. Yeah, there's nothing added to it. Hang on. I'll let them sit for a little bit. Let's get that fella out of the way. Righto. That fella might. It's a little bit. That's a little bit. There's a little bit of crud now because it's been disturbed in the bottle. But anyway, fermented for 14 days. Got down to 10, 12. So originally went into the fridge. At 21 degrees, I pitched yeast. Fridge was set to 15 degrees, and that was the ambient temperature in the fridge. Both fermenters went into there, so allowing for a little bit of the ferment warmth. They were sitting around 17, 18 degrees for the initial chunk of the ferment. Let's bring this one back in for the sake of it. It's starting to settle a little bit. Now this is the base version, which only had initially the 1.5 kilo of Muntons, the light liquid extract added, and was made up to 20 litres, and I took half off for that fella and pitched the kit yeast, 6 grams of American ale yeast, so that was only half of the batch that the yeast was meant to be fermenting. That's certainly slowing down now, but I'd be surprised there hasn't been just a small amount of continued ferment in the bottle, and this is part of that issue of that small amount of bloody yeast. Has it actually bloody got anywhere? Yeah, bloody anyway, so as per the instructions and the details, we went for a lighter version. So I said that 20 litres with just the liquid malt got us a original gravity of 1050 on this fella. The other half got another 500 grams of light dry malt added to it. So as per the instructions, that was a kilo to add into the whole batch. That gets us up to, it's not quite as strong as they're saying we could get to, because that would have been required going to 19 litres. We went a little lighter, and it's suggested here that at 20 litres we should have got somewhere around probably 1074. I only got 1064, so I don't know what's going on there. They're saying should have got 1064 with 23 litres, but anyway, I'm not too worried about that exactly. So 1064 pitch, 1 packet of US-05. So you gram a litre. Oh, yeah, close enough. Close enough to. Let them run. 5 days they ran. And on the 5th day, I took gravity readings. They were both sitting around 1032, 1034. So they've got about half the fermenting done in that 5 days. Added, there was 30 grams of Columbus in the kit. I added all of that into this fella. So I've technically doubled the amount of hops that came with the kit, but they were talking about adding up to 100 grams each of things like Columbus, Centennial, you know, those sort of seed hops. But that carried on here. So this fella got 35 grams of Columbus, because that I think was the last of the bag I had in the fridge. 35 grams of Chinook and 25 grams of Centennial. So that's would be basically double those amounts if you're going for a standard size batch. So there's another 120 grams. Sorry, 70, 140, 190 grams of dry hop on this fella, so the equivalent of in a full batch at day 5. Let it run for another 4 days. They both got down to 1020. Raised the temp to 20 degrees. Let it run for another 5 days. That got us to day 14. 1012 and 1016. At that point I cold crashed to 2 degrees and let it sit for another 5 days and then bottled them up. Bottling gravity was 1012 and 1016, so they hadn't moved in that last 5 days. So there is continued ferment there. It's only a very minor amount. But anyway, that's them, and you're not going to get a great look at the colour from that side. But that one's got a quite deep tannish sort of a look. This fella's a little bit deeper. It's throwing some hints of red. It's not real red. Not the light behind it. It's a bit more red in the when you're not got the bright light on it. So as you can see, both holding a reasonable head. This fella's nice and thick. That one poured a big one, which is going to stick around for a while. So the carbonation now is quite bloody good. So anyway, I've had a couple of these off the keg. Took a little while for the keg to sort of settle into a nice place. And actually, there's the other glass there. It settled a little bit from that initial pour. Let's go with this fella, because it's just going to be a little bit easier to get me gob into. And see there, you've got a nice head. Aroma wise, it's a bit of sweetish malt going on, sort of that kitty sort of note, which we were hoping might be a little bit less evident in these kits. They talk about that in part of their blurb about their different process of canning the extract, of getting that through the extraction process. But anyway, so this is a 1050 down to 1012, an ABV of 5 on the mark. Basically a session red IPA at that level. Not particularly well, highly hopped. Well, let's go. Okay. Oh, there's a... Okay, they want to talk about naked twang? Yeah. There's some kick in that. Oh, yeah, there's some twang in there. no doubt about it. Yeah, and like in all honesty, that's really detracting from anything else in that beer. Right now, let me just let that sit for a minute, and go over here. This fellow I've had probably 3 samplers of it now. Last one was on Christmas Day. I had half a glass, and it has been developing. Was initially quite had a quite harsh hop note going on. I said 220 grams. It's got a decent hop load in it, so that was to be expected. And that's sort of settling as it's getting a little bit of age on it. But there's not a lot of nose, you know, given the amount of the dry hop that's in there. I can grant it is 3 weeks. It has had a little bit of time to settle. There's a nice thick creaminess in the body. I think it's coming from, yeah, with the hops and the extra malt of this brew. 1064 down to 1016, 6.3% straight from the keg. Again, that twang, it's really sitting there underneath. The hops and extra malt are trying their best to work against it, but it's still there. Yeah, it's a shame. There's it's sort of a half decent beer there, but then at the same time it's only half decent. Yeah, it's not a half decent in the good way. It's a half decent and not really quite. You're not really quite to the decent level. There's nothing in either of these beers that for me to go, yay, thumbs up, go ahead, get into them. Like I said, twang on both, very savage on this fella. Yeah, and I was willing to go, okay, well maybe that's a little bit of an issue from that little bit of ferment that may have continued to go on in the bottle, but if it was an amount, it's a tiny amount, but it's still riding in there, even with that massive hop load and the extra malt there to overpower it. And the reality is that weird flavour underneath is actually overcoming the hops, massive amount of hops. So right now, like this is, as far as kit brews go, this is a fucking expensive brew. Still got the price, bloody, the kept it sitting there because I wanted to refer back to it. I talked about it earlier. Oh no, it might have been a bloody video, a live video I was talking about. This kit was $34. So straight away the kit's not cheap. Yeah, you're paying a premium price. It was $22 for the Marisotto, the liquid malt. So 50 Best part of $56 to brew that half, and that is ordinary. Look, there's no other word for it. That is ordinary. That's a 2.5 out of 5 at best fucking kit brew. And I've got to say it, it's on par with other Muntons kits I've done. They're fucking, they've never, I've shied away from them. I've done some through with the Kegland over the years and different ones, and I had the same thing, just nasty fucking twang in them. I was really hoping this was going to be a step away from that. That, yeah, the Muntons were doing something, you know, new and different, and it was going to get rid of that. But from what I'm getting here, no. So I said $56. Throw in the half a kilo of light malt that's gone in here, and you're talking, you're well into the 60s, 200 grams of hops. You're looking, that's a $75 to $80 brew. That's big dollars. Big dollars, and it's, yeah. That's not good. That is like exceedingly better than that. I'd give that a 3.5. No, I wouldn't. Give it a 3. It is better than that, but the reality is, spending that amount of money on a brew, you could do this brew for $60 from dry extract, and add the hops and get yourself a mud, you know, and some steeping grains, and get a much better result. You can do this brew for $60 all grain, and, you know, and get a much better result. So yeah, I'm not going to write the Muntons cans off. I am hoping to catch up with 1 or 2 other brewers over the next few weeks and try some other Brick Road cans and see how we go, how they compare. But right now, that gets a thumbs down from Little John. But anyway, not the first kit brews to disappoint, and I'm sure it won't be the last. But anyway, guys, if you got any comments, any questions, otherwise stick it down the bottom. Thumbs up to the patrons of the channel. Thank you guys for your support as always. It's that support that lets me play around with stuff like this, lets me keep doing Extractaganza. There's a link down the bottom if you're interested in becoming a Patreon. If you subscribe to the channel, thank you very much. If you aren't subscribed, there's a link down the bottom there. There's a bloody button. Click on it. Ring the bell. That way you get notified when there's a new video on the channel. You don't miss anything. And if you like what's going on, give me a thumbs up. But for now, that's Extractaganza number 27. Brick Road Brewing Co. Not a success. But stay tuned. Going forward, we've got more stuff, more Extractaganzas coming. Maybe some changes going into the new year, but for now we're continuing on. Next brew is a partial Cerveza, an ESB kit, which is currently in the fridge. It's going to cold crash for a couple of weeks while I'm on holidays, so that's going to be down the track a little bit. But for now, that's her. So till I see you on the next video, we're brewing beer, drinking beer, or talking beer. Good brewing. Oh fuck, Jesus. Oh fuck.